What's going on, everyone? This is Shields. Welcome back. We are going to react to our first oversimplified video. Whew, this is going to be fun because oversimplified is probably one of the most entertaining forms of understanding history. Now, for some reason, there are some sort of, I wouldn't say controversy. I would just say like people sometimes look at this and they're like, oversimplified doesn't do a good job, but it's in the name. It's oversimplified. This is not going to be a 1999, history of the not America's history of World War One, Volume One of 17, granular deep dive. This is going to be more of a from above. How was World War One won? How did it start? What pertained in between? And really hitting the high notes, I would say. If anyone here already knows, World War One happened between 1914 and 1917. Involved the Allies and was it the Central Powers? The Axis powers. See how smart I am? I am so smart. But anyway, what is interesting is really, the reasonings of World War One led to World War Two. And I think World War One, or the Great War, as most people say, especially in Europe, the Great War. I think it was kind of inevitable. I mean, some people can. I mean, when you look at cause and effect, you really can you can go back as far as the Napoleonic Wars in the early 1800s and start to see like the cause and effects of territory and tension and just overall just inevitability of it's going to occur. Now, the factions that play a part, of course, it's more or less like I treat you as an ally. So if you get invaded or if someone declares war on you, I got your back. So there's a lot of trust and loyalty in the powers that are at stake. Now, the United States, it's on the other side of the world. We get pulled into World War One with Woodrow Wilson, for good cause, to kind of end things. But that's not here nor there. We of course have the main, the main parts where it be United Kingdom, France, and the United States, and you can even say with Russia, and then of course on the other side you have Germany, you have Austria-Hungary, you have Italy, um, and there's a lot of refreshing that I need to do. So this is why we're watching this. We're watching this to learn. We're watching this to compound. We're watching this to react. So sit back, relax, and if you love anything history, hit that subscribe button and let me know if you have particular videos that I'd be fascinated to watch or react to, because I claim not to be an expert. I claim to be a student. And this, long piece of, collaboration and human history that I've embarked on a few days ago, starting this channel, it starts with just relearning and understanding and being, one with history. So we're already 3 minutes and 50 seconds in, so let's jump right into it. This is going to be the part one of, I think, two. Let's go.
The world of 1914, a time of modern technology, culture, and fashion. Truly the height
Love it.
of civilization. Let's have a war. Everyone knew a big war was coming.
Okay, first off, let's look at this map real quick. It looks very similar to today's map, minus where Germany sits and Austria-Hungary, that empire, which of course was the Holy Roman Empire at one point. You got Switzerland pretty much with their modern borders. You got France with their modern borders, Italy, Spain, Portugal, UK. You don't have Finland. You have Norway and Sweden. Russia is a huge, huge behemoth. The Balkans are pretty similar to their modern day borders. You're going to have the Ottoman Empire on that kind of like darkish yellow on the bottom where the Mediterranean hits. And of course, that's going to eventually be Turkey. Greece looks similar. There might be a little bit more Greek territory they claim. I can't tell. Maybe a little bit more north. But for the most part, very similar to today. Let's keep going.
Coming. France wanted some stuff back that Germany had taken from it. Germany wanted to take more of everyone's stuff, and they were building a big, sexy navy that was making the British uncomfortable. These two empires thought they were really.
And then, of course, the British have had a navy for. They've had naval superiority for hundreds of years. And that's just been the way of the land.
Cool, but lots
Oh yeah, Ottoman Empire, Austria-Hungary. This is part of the alliance starting to happen.
of different people who lived there didn't think it was
Okay, and you can see, I'm sorry for all the pauses, it's just very interesting. Yes, you can see like the different tribes and nations that will eventually form out of these territories.
so cool. And some of them had even been declaring independence with help from Russia. Everyone was talking about each other behind each other's backs. Throw in the fact that military technology had come a long way since the last major war, and suddenly everyone was pretty eager to beat each other up. In this area of Austria-Hungary live some Serbs and Bosnians who hated living in Austria-Hungary. So the Austro-Hungarian Archduke Franz Ferdinand goes there for a nice drive in an open-top car with his car's route published in advance. And that went just about as well as you'd expect. Some assassins.
And you see this all the time. This isn't like, I'm going to back up a little bit. This isn't like one case or a one-off case. When leaders have, whether it be parts of their commonwealth or territory in their empire, we see this with the United Kingdom. We see this, of course, with Austria-Hungary. We see this with a lot of different places where there's tension, where there's the morale's low, where there's not as much loyalty. Sometimes the head of state, the first sovereign, the president, whomever, does a little political parading. They do a little political parading to kind of win over the population, which is at a at a point where they're not trying to be loyal to, whether it be the crown, whether it be the administration. We see this all the time. So this was more or less like, two different perspectives. You have the perspectives of on the ground people, but then you have the perspective of the administration thinking, okay, we do this, I think this is going to help.
Published in advance, and that went just about as well as you'd expect. Some assassins were waiting for him along the way and threw bombs at his car, but they missed and blew up some officers behind him instead. So the Archduke goes into hiding, leaves Sarajevo, and the whole war never happens.
Yeah, right.
Except no, the Archduke doesn't leave, but instead goes back out in the open-top car to visit the injured officers in hospital. The driver takes a wrong turn and by sheer coincidence gets stuck beside one of the failed assassins, who shoots him.
Now that's the story. That's the story. And I'd love to kind of like do a deep dive into the Franz Ferdinand assassination eventually, to kind of, because you got to realize now we do have the notion that this is inevitable, but this was the stray of hay on the camel's back that just kind of like broke everything. This, of course, would lead into the cause and effects and the butterfly effect of World War I, which eventually leads to World War II, which eventually leads to the Cold War, which eventually leads to the Ukrainian-Russo war of today. It's so inevitable how things just continuously happen, but in terms of the flow of events. But this right here sparked it. So we'd love to take a deep dive eventually in the future. And I love the cutouts here. So pristine.
Austria-Hungary is understandably pissed about all this, and they think the Serbian government had something to do with it, which they might have. So they go to their ally Germany and say, hey Germany, we're going to declare war on Serbia, and Germany is all for that.
Germany just didn't know what was coming, I guess.
So Austria-Hungary send a big list of impossible demands to Serbia, and when Serbia refuses, they declare war. Austria-Hungary and Germany are friends, and Serbia is protected by Russia, who's friends with France.
You can already see the allyship.
So they all declare war on each other. Montenegro joins in too. France and Britain also have a kind of alliance. So when France says, hey Britain, you got my back? Britain is like, maybe? And then they...
Obviously, because France and the UK, or England, for the most of history, or Britain for the most of history, uh, has had so many, skirmishes, so many different wars, so many different disagreements. I mean, of course, I mean, whether it be the Revolution of 1776 that France helped the Americas, whether it be, several different, you know, and the interesting thing before we get even into that, the interesting thing is like France and Britain are so alike too, because whether they share the crown several years in their history, whether it be the different families that share the lineages, it's interesting. It's very interesting how that relationship has been over the last 1,000 years. But of course, the UK will help here.
They decide to stay out of it, which is great for Germany because Germany has a plan. They know that Russia is so big and clumsy that it will take them a while to get ready for war. So with this guy in charge, Germany will send all its troops into France at lightning speed while Russia's getting ready, defeat France, then move all the troops to Russia and defeat Russia, and then we all speak German and eat Pfefferpottast every day.
Pfefferpottast. Okay, what is this? Like some sort of meat? That sour cream, or and then that's like pickled beets and something else.
Just one problem. France has loads of forts and defenses along its German border, and Germany can't waste any time fighting them, so Germany decides to go around them.
Belgium!
Through Belgium.
Can't do that.
Belgium is neutral, but Germany wants to march 750,000 troops through it to get around France's defenses. They're hoping Belgium will just kind of sit down and shut up, but they don't. They fight back, and they're pretty good too, so they slow the Germans down. What's worse is that Britain shows up, and they're pretty pissed that Germany's invading neutral countries.
Can't do that.
So now Britain declares war on Germany.
And now it just got really difficult for Germany because Germany was expecting this to be a quick and easy settlement.
So Germany push on through Belgium and commit some atrocities along the way. They also wear spikes and sometimes skulls on their uniform. So if you're trying to not look like the bad guys, good job. The Allies have a propaganda extravaganza, and this starts having an influence around the world, notably in America. The US President Woodrow Wilson sees himself as a bit of a Jesus figure and spends most of the war.
There's so many opinions on Woodrow Wilson across the the history community and like at large, whether he's a savior, whether he's a globalist, whether he is a detriment to America and the future of the United States with the entire world in terms of policing. It's just a continuous conversation. My opinions are that Woodrow Wilson kind of got too involved at the wrong times, but he was not. He was a progressive president, and we can talk a little bit more about that in the future. But yeah, keep going.
Trying to get everyone to just hug it out. But there's also a large population of ethnic Germans living in the United States, and when the war first broke out, they were like, yay, Germany. But now that they're committing atrocities in Belgium, they're less enthusiastic. Let's play Spot the French Soldier.
That guy?
Did you see him? Easy, right? He's wearing a bright blue uniform with red trousers. And do you know who else spotted him easily too? The Germans.
Oh my god, yeah.
So when the French were
it's like the future and the past colliding.
Slowly marching in columns through the countryside, the Germans easily tore them to shreds with their giant guns. All the nations involved in this war.
Words and adventure bayonet charges are cool. Cavalry is really effective. Dying for your country is awesome.
Went in with an old school war mentality, and all of them had to update their uniforms and tactics a lot during.
No boots, no helmet, no boots, no helmet. Red trousers. Yeah, this was very much what's it called? These uniforms were more about like patriotism, nationalism versus tacticalness. Almost like it was a celebratory thing to wear this uniform and have these magnificent colors on it, and the lining up like of the past where you have like the 1700s where you have like lines of people just marching towards it, that, and we see that a lot in the Civil War in the Americas, and it's just not going to work in this case.
In the Great War. Because this war was going to be like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Russia's ready for war, and way earlier than expected. Hey, Austria-Hungary, can you get on top of that? Oh yeah, sure, we've got this. Nope. So Germany has to send some troops back to the east to defend against the Russians. The chief of staff of the Austro-Hungarian army is this guy, and although he is handsome, he turns out not to be the best military strategist. Austria-Hungary constantly ignores Germany's advice, and then comes running back to Germany whenever they get in trouble. Austria-Hungary even gets its ass kicked by tiny Serbia, who repels all their invasion attempts at the start of the war. It's better news for Germany in the north, though, where they almost completely wipe out the Russian Second Army. Back on the Western Front,
I wonder if they're sharing technology too with each other.
the Germans continue advancing and are in sight of Paris. At this point, anyone would be forgiven for thinking the Germans were going to get that quick victory after all. But then things start to go wrong. The French commander-in-chief knew something had to be done, and he ordered his armies to stop retreating. In the resulting battle, a gap opened up in the German lines. If a gap opens up, the enemy can use it to flank you from the side and behind.
Yep.
So the German armies have to retreat. The Allies launch a counterattack, so the Germans dig into defensive positions.
This is where it started.
Allies do the same. Then both sides move north, trying to outflank each other along the way. When they reach the sea, they're in a stalemate with trench systems running the whole way from the coast to Switzerland, the beginning of trench warfare on the Western Front. Here's how trench warfare works. Two opposing lines of trenches with no man's land in between.
No man's land. You don't want to be there.
One side would pummel the other with hundreds of thousands of artillery shells, sometimes for days at a time. This had a huge psychological effect on the soldiers, leaving many shell-shocked. Then, the attacking troops would leave their trenches and rush across no man's land, a muddy wet mass of shell craters and barbed wire. The defending trench would unleash machine gun fire on the attackers, inflicting thousands of casualties. The attackers would send wave after wave until either they gave up or the opposing trench was finally overrun. There would be months of fighting and the deaths of thousands in order to gain a few meters or kilometers of land.
Just think about that. Like, think about the mindset you have to know. Maybe you don't know. A lot of these men were young, like in their early 20s or 19, 18 years old. Most of the men that were on these fields were in their 20s. What are you thinking? Like, when you're in the trench, you're getting pummeled by artillery, and then now you have a command to rush across the field. And if you don't rush across the field, you're a traitor. You're going to be discharged dishonorably. Your family's going to disown you. You're going to have possibly there's even like a sense where you'll be shot for what's it called? For leaving, for abandoning your unit. There's so many different things that could occur here. So like you're set to go into no man's land if you're commanded, basically. And what he said is like there's craters, there's dead bodies. That's one thing that people don't realize is, and so great movies like 1917 portrayed this so well, where you have so many different bodies and like they're just decomposing out there. And I mean, I don't understand like what is the thoughts going through your head, because maybe you have to run 300 yards from trench to trench, and there's MG42. I think it'd be MG42, right? MG42 or whatever, machine gun fire just pummeling forward. What are the thoughts going in your head? Like, do you have any like sense of like, are you just seeing red at that point? Do you have any? It's just interesting. It's very interesting, and I wonder how many people were just like, fuck it, let's just go. Let's just see what happens.
Land. Living in the trenches was hard work too. Corpses, mud that could swallow you whole, pools of poisonous water, rats, disease, the smell. It's insane how many people die by disease and to the elements. Millions of soldiers put up with these conditions, and commanders ordered them to do so for years.
That's it, guys. Get ready. We're going to do part 2, so go on over there and check out part 2. That's coming up soon. Man, that's crazy. Whew. Let me know what you guys thought. And let me know if you guys have any other videos that you want me to react to. But until next time, peace out. Bye-bye.